Hello guys, thanks for joining me. As you can see, I've got a few items here displayed on my floor in my room, and these are all part of my father's history. My father was a soldier in the United States Army. He was a mechanic and truck driver, and these items that I've got in front of me refer to his time in Thailand in 1967. So on the top there, I've got a couple of souvenirs that he brought back from his year in Thailand, a oriental dragon and a tiger. And these are wall plaques. I remember these from my childhood days, and it's the only souvenirs from his days in Thailand that I managed to keep. Sadly, the rest disappeared over time. Anyhow, the rest of these items refer to his time in Thailand. He was a truck driver and mechanic, and he was part of the 519th Transportation Battalion, and they were based in Thailand. He was part of the, as I said, the 519th Transportation Battalion. He was actually with the 260th Transport Company, Petroleum. Basically, what they were doing is delivering gasoline and diesel to the various units in Thailand. But initially, on arrival to Thailand, the 260th were involved in road constructions. They were building part of the so-called inland road in Thailand, and that was basically started in the early 1960s when America was deeply involved with the fight against the communists in Vietnam. So there were a lot of U.S. Air Force bases in Thailand at the time, and a few Army bases, and what they were doing is basically building road structures to supply these various units from the sea. So if you ever wonder how they supplied all the ammunition, all that kind of stuff, it obviously came by boat, by ship, and it got delivered by the transportation companies, of which my father was a part of at the time. So I've got a couple of certificates up there. Certificate of award. I've covered up my father's name, and I've also covered up the details on the bottom, because it mentions my father several times. But basically, that is the certificate of award awarded to my father for completing 5,000 accident-free miles in Thailand in late December 1967. As I say, he arrived in early, either late 1966 or very early 1967. And he also attained a certificate of achievement there. And that is the insignia for the 519th battalion, and it's basically a oriental tiger, and I don't know if it focused, but it has the Latin motto quid quanto and q or something. Anyhow, the English translation is what, where, and when. So obviously, what do you want us to haul, where do you want us to haul it, and when do you want us to haul it. So quite a nice motto, I guess. And that is his cap badge here that he wore in Thailand. I've also got a souvenir lighter here that he took back, and on the side here it says 260th Transportation Company Medium Truck Petrol or Petroleum Inland Road, Thailand, 1967. And on the other side, there's a map showing the route that they were building. As I say, they were involved in constructions to begin with. They were a petroleum carrier, but they didn't have the equipment at the time. Basically, they came into Thailand with basically trucks, pickup trucks and the like. They were still waiting for their M131 5,000-gallon trailers, so they were helping out the 400 or the 44th Engineer Battalion. Anyhow, I got some photographs here of my father in Thailand. The color pictures on the top show him on a bicycle at camp somewhere. I think that could be the camp at Korat. And the bottom shows the trucks that they were using. So that's the M52 trucks with the backs, the construction trucks. It's a picture of my father there. And that's the trucks that he would have been driving. 5,000 miles without an accident. That was his particular truck there. They're all dated May 1967 on the back and 260th. And these ones are dated May 1967. There's a couple of photographs with him and his buddies. So I'm not sure whether that is camp. What the camp that they were based at was down at the Gulf of Siam called Sitterhip. So that could be that. I'm not quite sure. It doesn't say on the back or anything. But that's my father there with a buddy. My father there. That's the Jeep there, and headquarters 519th Transportation Battalion, and it has, you won't be able to see it, but that's the logo there of the tiger. So my father was stationed in Fort Riley in Kansas back in the mid-1960s, I think from about 1965 to 66. We lived in Fort Riley in Kansas. I was a child. I would only been about 1 or 2 at the time. But he was moved from Fort Riley to Thailand, as I say, along with his company, the, as I say, 260th. And they served in Thailand up until the end of the year, well, I think he must have left in early 1968. I've got a Vietnam medal there, and you might be wondering how come there's the Vietnam medal there. He did end up going to Vietnam, but not until about 1970, late 1970 to late 1971 he went to Vietnam. But the criteria for the medal was changed at the time. As I say, the U.S. military was more and more involved in Vietnam, so they basically, as the citation here said, this is to inform you that you have been authorized the Vietnam Service Medal and the Vietnam Campaign Medal in accordance with a recent Department of the Army directive. The directive has expanded the requirements of the award to include several contiguous areas to the Republic of Vietnam. So basically, if there were soldiers in Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, they would have also been awarded the Vietnam Medal from there on. I also believe that U.S. Air Force crews stationed in Guam were entitled the medal after that date, and that is dated November 1968. So he did a year in Thailand and ended up getting awarded the medal there. Anyhow, what else about it? As I say, they were there for construction work and hauling supplies all over the place. There were quite a few U.S. Air Force bases in Thailand at the time. They were involved in bombing raids against the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Laos. They were fighting the communists in Cambodia and northern Vietnam. So these transportation units, they were all supplying petroleum, which is petrol or diesel, to the various units. They were supplying, obviously, hauling supplies. They were also involved in a so-called McNamara line of defense strategies, basically transportation of explosives and listening devices to the various U.S. Air Force bases, which they dropped over the Ho Chi Minh Trail and the like. And they were also involved in supplying the besieged U.S. Marine Corps unit in Quezon. So there was a lot going on, not only in Vietnam, but also in the surrounding areas, a lot of supplying being done. So as I say, they were building that road there, which they call the Inland Road. So anyhow, I think I'll leave it at that. Just a little look at my father's time in the U.S. military and his time in Thailand. Kind of an episode of the Cold War, which is largely forgotten nowadays. I probably wouldn't think many people here in the United Kingdom would know about the involvement in Thailand, for example. So that's my little layout that I've got here at the moment. Before I finish, I'll just show you this old map here. Again, this belonged to my father, and it's a old National Geographic map. This one actually came out in February 1967, and it shows, as it says there, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and Thailand. So we've got Cambodia there, we've got South Vietnam, North Vietnam, on top is China, we've got Burma over there, Thailand, Laos. So I'll just give you an overview where my father served at the time. As I say, he did end up going to Vietnam in late 1970. He ended up going to Da Nang, which is there. But as I said, in 1967 he spent the year in Sitata, which is down there. The U.S. military built a big pier there for military aid to be shipped into Thailand, so they were supplying Thailand with weapons. The Thais were also fighting against the communists at the time in Vietnam. And there would have been a lot of Air Force bases in Thailand, which were operating against the Ho Chi Minh Trail, which would have come from North Vietnam, went through Laos into South Vietnam, so they were doing bombing raids and the like along that. They were also supplying isolated pockets, like there's Khe Sanh there, so very far north of South Vietnam, just near the border, and they were cut off by the communists, so they were supplying the various garrisons from Thailand. So my father, first of all, ended up in the in this place here, Sitterhip, I think it's pronounced. That is where the 260th Company Battalion, or the 260th Transportation Company were based. The headquarters for the 519th Transportation Battalion were near Bangkok, somewhere in the outskirts of Bangkok. And there was also another big place near Korat there. So that is the region that my father basically worked on. They were building a highway basically from the port into the middle of Thailand to supply all the other various places there. So that's what he did initially. I mean, obviously when I'm saying he worked construction, he didn't do any of the digging or anything. He was basically hauling away dirt and the like on his trucks and the like. They were using heavy heavy machinery to do the actual construction along with Thai workers. So anyhow, I'll leave it at that. Hope you enjoy that video. It's getting a little bit long now, so I'll leave it at that. But again, this is a 1967 map of the region. So anyhow, thanks for watching, and bye for now.